Cormac McConnell lived in Western Ireland, where he describes himself as now an author, a journalist, and a broadcaster. In an article once, he described how he came to write a haunting song called 1915 Christmas in the Trenches. On this occasion, with a God involved for sure, I crashed through the glass ceiling of my limited creativity in some mysterious way. At the time, I was a regular in the musical pub The Crane in Galway City. The first time I was called upon to sing, the bar was crowded, and I normally would not be listened to with much interest. But in seconds, I knew I had a good song, because there was a hush throughout, and several middle-aged Germans in the cosmopolitan gathering came up to me as soon as I'd finished, tears streaming down their faces, and hugged me. His song began with these words: 1915 on Christmas Day, on the Western Front, the guns all died away. And lying in the mud on bags of sand, we heard a German sing from no man's land. He had a tenor voice so pure and true, the words were strange, but every note we knew. Soaring o'er the living, dead and damned, the German sang of peace from no man's land. If you want to hear the whole song, you can find it on YouTube. The event itself is historical, although somewhat changed in legend. It is true that for a little while, the guns fell silent on Christmas Eve, and there was a sort of truce that lasted through the night. It was not, however, the beginning of any sort of real peace. Of all the things that mankind has ever tried to make, none has ever been as difficult as making peace. It was Albert Einstein who once said, "Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding." For the first time in a long time, our country is not engaged in any armed conflict somewhere. But it is hard to argue that we are really enjoying peace at last. We remain anxious about future conflicts, and even within our own borders, we sometimes feel like we're pretty close to a civil war again. Where then is the peace that is promised by this season? Well, if we cannot change the world, then we might hope to at least change who we are. The peace we seek, however, is not found by ignoring reality. It is found by living peacefully within our reality. That, I think, is the message that is found in the 3rd chapter of the book of Colossians. There you will find a recipe for peace that starts with the rule of Christ in our hearts. And it is both internal in character and external in effect. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. So we read. The church is not just a place where we can find inner peace with God. It is also a place where we can practice interpersonal peace with each other. Paul likened it to the process of getting dressed, indicating that we can choose to adopt these virtues for our life. Clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, he said. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. These Christian virtues are the result of Christ's love for us. Because he has loved us, we can afford now to love others. The bank is full. The love we give can never exceed the love we have been given. The first of these is compassion, defined as sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. Those without compassion often fear the cost of caring, so they choose not to do so. We have experienced God's compassion, so we know what it means to have someone care about us, and we also know what it cost Christ to love us. So, having experienced the love of Christ, we can now afford to love others as well. It was the Dalai Lama who said, "If you want others to be happy, practice compassion." If you want to be happy, practice compassion. We need lots of practice. It all starts by opening our heart to care about people. Just that. Just care. And that is how true peace begins as well. Because if we truly care about the well-being of others, then they will know that we are friends and not their enemies. Second, kindness. The biblical definition of kindness is one who does not stick to the letter of the law. Compassion and kindness combine to set the prisoner free. They allow people to fall and then rise again. They allow people to fail us and yet still be loved by us. Judging people by the letter of the law will often fail to achieve the real purpose of the law, which is to make life better for everyone. By offering kindness instead of judgment, we can help people begin to break whatever chains may bind them and truly set them free. Third, humility. If you equate humility with putting yourself down, then forget about it. As Paul said in another letter, have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who being found in human form, humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. As C.S. Lewis once said, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. True humility is a companion to compassion, and it is yet another pathway to peace with others. Fourth, gentleness. This is a harder virtue to achieve than you might think. As someone once said, only the weak are cruel. Gentleness can only be expected from the strong. Therefore, we must be prepared to strengthen our feeble knees, so to speak, so that we can meet every cruelty with compassion and kindness and face it down through the strength of the Lord within us. Wasn't this really what Jesus meant when he said, if someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also? Being gentle doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are strong enough not to become weak and compassionate enough to care about not hurting others. This too is where peace begins. When I decide I will not return an eye for an eye anymore, then peace becomes at least a possibility. And finally, there is patience. Those who say patience is a virtue are absolutely right. It is one of these 5 virtues. In the realm of interpersonal relations, patience is when you're supposed to get mad, but you choose to understand. Sometimes we even say, please be patient with me. I am still learning. And by that we mean, please don't get angry with me. I think every parent has had that one moment when we lost patience, so to speak, with our own child. It is awful. And the very best lesson we will ever learn in life is to see the tears in their eyes. You will never, ever want to do that again. And God willing, you won't. Hopefully, it will also inspire you to be patient with everyone else in your life too. They are who they are at this moment in time, but people are constantly growing and changing, and tomorrow they will be different. If today they are testing our limits, well, just be patient and wait. There will come another day, and they may do better. Waiting, incidentally, is what God does too. Patiently waiting for each of us, like the prodigal son, to find our way home to him. These are the character virtues we seek as Christians: compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Not only will they make us a better person, they will make the lives of all of those around us a little better too. They may even create for both them and us a more peaceful place to live. As for our country and the rest of the world, well, we will have to be patient. McConnell ended his Christmas song with these words: "O silent night, no cannons roar. A king is born of peace forevermore. All's calm, all's bright, all brothers hand in hand. And that young soldier sings, the sound of peace still rings, though the captains and all the kings build no man's land." Be safe, and God bless you.